few battles can truly be considered as altering the course of world history. However, one such battle is the Battle of Tours in 732 AD. In this video, we will explore the background and lead up to the battle itself, and the aftermath. Prelude. In the 4th century, the Byzantine Emperor Constantine decided that Christianity would be the religion of the remaining Roman Empire. Many European kingdoms followed suit, such as the Goths and Visigoths in Italy, Spain, and Gaul. While Christianity was still in its infancy, in the 7th century, the Prophet Muhammad and his followers engaged in a military expansion so rapid and successful that it has arguably not been duplicated. During his lifetime, Muhammad expanded the Islamic religion throughout the Middle East, parts of Anatolia, and North Africa. By the time of his death in 632, Muhammad had left his successors a bridgehead for a series of further conquests, especially now that Islam had considerably grown. After his death, the Islamic caliphates launched military conquests that spread the word of Islam from Afghanistan all the way to Spain. By 700 AD, the Islamic caliphates had subjugated or made vassals the entire Middle East, Arabian Peninsula, Northern Africa, and the Iberian Peninsula. In 711 AD, a strong Muslim force, led by Tariq, invaded Visigoth-controlled Spain from North Africa. The speed and audacity of the invasion caught the Visigoths by surprise. Near Gibraltar, the Muslim forces defeated the Visigoths, and the Visigoth king Witiza fled Spain. Europe was stunned at the ease and speed with which Visigoth Spain was subjugated. From 711 to 731, the Muslim expansion appeared that it would not stop at the Iberian Peninsula, but they aimed to invade the heart of Europe. These 2 decades saw several raids and armies invade Aquitaine and Burgundy, 2 vital areas in southern France. When the Gauls and Goths saw that the incursions were going deeper and deeper, they decided to meet the Islamic forces near the towns of Tours and Poitiers in 732 AD. The Battle of Tours or Poitiers in 732 was between the Frankish and Gothic forces led by Charles Martel, whom history would later dub the Hammer. Charles is widely revered throughout Europe and France. He was regarded as a staunch defender of Christianity. The Islamic forces from the Umayyad Caliphate was led by Abd al-Rahman Al-Ghafiqi. Al-Ghafiqi rose to power through military conquest and became the governor of Islam-controlled Spain, which was known as Al-Andalus. In October 732, Charles finally met Al-Ghafiqi outside the towns of Tours and Poitiers in France. Historians have debated the number of each army, but it is widely agreed that numbers were similar, with the Frankish forces being slightly outnumbered. Al-Ghafiqi also had more cavalry than the Franks, which gave him more maneuverability. Conversely, the Franks had heavier infantry than the Muslims. The Frankish forces likely numbered 20 to 30,000 troops, while the Islamic forces numbered 30 to 35,000. Seeing this disadvantage, Charles hid part of his contingent in a nearby forest. The Franks planned to engage the entire Islamic force, and at the right time, the hidden contingent of massed heavy infantry would smash against Al-Ghafiqi's flank. Staking the future of Central Europe in one battle was extremely risky, considering the last century had seen the Islamic forces prevail against troops of all kinds in all parts of the world. At a time where Europe could not field armies like those of Rome in its golden age, the Franks amassed a huge force for the time period. At stake was the future of Christian Europe. Both armies' deployment was not complex. Each army advanced to face each other, with the mounted Islamic forces approaching more rapidly. Upon collision, the Islamic forces were surprised to hit a bulwark of heavily armed infantry that held the line upon a crushing attack. The Christians fought with ferocity because they knew that losing the battle would mean losing all of France and Christian Europe. As each side fought ferociously, Charles and the Franks managed to hold on. If the attack on the flank was going to work, Charles needed to hold the line, while Al-Ghafiqi committed the majority of his troops. Charles and the Franks did their duty, and as planned, the heavy Frankish infantry crashed into Al-Ghafiqi's flank. This not only broke the right flank of Ghafiqi's army, but it rallied the rest of the Frankish troops. At this moment, the Franks launched a crushing counterattack that broke the Islamic force. In this push, Al-Ghafiqi was killed. Upon news of Ghafiqi's death, the Islamic forces engaged in a widespread retreat. Outnumbered with the fate of Christian Europe in the balance, Charles Martel delivered a victory so decisive that marked the end of any incursion of Muslim armies into Central Europe. This victory established the Carolingian dynasty, which would include the first Holy Roman Emperor, Charlemagne. I have included notable quotes from historians that depict the history-altering nature of the Battle of Tours in 732 AD. One historian said, as later chroniclers increasingly came to praise Charles Martel as the champion of Christianity, pre-20th century historians began to characterize this battle as being the decisive turning point in the struggle against Islam. Another historian asserted that most of the 18th and 19th century historians, like Gibbon, saw Poitiers, Tours, as a landmark battle that marked the high tide of the Muslim advance into Europe. And Leopold von Ranke stated that Poitiers was the turning point of one of the most important epochs in the history of the world. Aftermath. The Battle of Tours is widely seen as the battle that saved Christian Europe while it was still in its infancy. Francia would emerge as the de facto defender of Christendom, with Charlemagne, a descendant of Charles Martel, becoming the Holy Roman Emperor. For the Umayyad Muslims, their conquest into Central Europe had been halted, but they remained an important influence in the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. In Spain, Islamic culture flourished. Notably, there is still heavy Islamic influence in the form of language and architecture in cities such as Córdoba, Zaragoza, and Toledo. The influence on the Spanish language cannot be understated. For example, the use of ul in the Islamic language was adopted by the Spanish. Another saying in Spanish is ojalá, which is used in Spanish and Latin American countries to express hopefully. Broken down, the phrase means "O Allah." The impact of the Battle of Tours cannot be understated. First, it halted Muslim expansion into European Christendom. Second, Western Europe finally had a Christian bulwark like that of the Byzantine Empire. Third, the defeat led the Muslims to settle in the Iberian Peninsula, where it flourished and contributed to Spanish and Portuguese culture that can still be seen and felt today. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, as it would be a great help and notify you of new content.